This episode is brought to you by Fresh and Buds, your #1 dispensary in New Jersey.
I mean, it is legal here, but I can't pay those licensing fees, to be honest.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against the Live Flesh and Blood Call-In Show. I'm joined by my constant co-host, Kevin Smurf Murphy. Kevin, how have you been?
I'm good. I'm just kind of chilling, taking a little break post Amsterdam, pre-Rosetta.
Heck yeah.
Gonna hang out and watch the Camp Green Tree 5K in Calling Manila this weekend. It's gonna be a good weekend. Is Camp Green Tree
streamed? That's streamed?
Should be.
Heck yeah, that's exciting.
I would be surprised if it wasn't. I'd be very sad if it wasn't.
Yeah. We're also joined by Tommy.
What's going on?
We're joined by Tommy Fresh. Introduce yourself. Thank you for coming on.
I am Tommy. I have a podcast called Buzz. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad to be here calling.
Heck yeah.
Good time. This is a more planned thing. Last time, I want to know who my mortal is.
Yeah, I want to know who they are too.
I'm here to talk and topics, and this will be fun.
Heck yeah.
You know, if you were tuning in before, I was bashing a meme. I was a meme basher.
And we might get into that in a second. So, Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be on air talking to Tommy about your hot flesh and blood take, like Oldham is not the best looking character in Flesh and Blood, that's a hot take. Join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description, or Kevin put in chat. You join the waiting room channel, put your take in the topics channel, and then we'll pull you on for a mic check and then have you on air talking to Tommy about Tommy's least favorite fab meme right now.
Which is the horse meme. I don't, you know, hey, listen, I'll rehash it again. I don't care for it. It's not for me. You know, if it is for you, I can't help that you have bad taste, but I don't like the meme. It's just a little lazy. I think the horse gets too much credit for you know, what's going on in that painting. Sure. It was
Sure.
cute for a little bit.
Lowbrow humor.
We gotta yeah. Listen, we like highbrow humor here, and the horse stuff. Listen, is there any other heroes that have animals in the like artwork? Rar maybe.
Oh, Icelander, young Icelander. She's got a bear in the background, and he's like, bear. He's making a face like.
Listen, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when they tried to make that a meme as well. That one didn't take. Okay. I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I just think there's maybe some outside forces out there that are trying to make these animal memes happen, and whatever. They struck gold.
Sure.
With the Victor.
Yeah.
They struck gold with Victor.
Yeah, they struck gold with Victor.
It is what it is, but I'm sick of it, right? No more animal memes. I'm done with them.
Kevin, do you want to... Wait, do you see our current chatter?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Reminder that if you do want to talk to us live on air on Discord, you can by giving us a hot take. Sorry. Okay. A counterpoint to what you've said about that meme not being funny is the "Let's Go" kid from Young Lexi art is the star of that show.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair. I think a lot of people use that meme. I see it as a sticker in Discords. People are going a little ham with that one. The kid's funny. The kid is funny. The horse isn't doing anything, right? The horse is just being a horse, and there's nothing wrong with horses.
Is that not funny in and of itself? It's just actually just not doing anything, like overhyping something that doesn't have anything to hype.
Listen, I grew up in a pretty rural area, and there's a lot of horsey people around here, so I'm maybe a little bit overexposed to the horses, and I think that maybe I have something against the horse. That I don't know. I need to.
You heard it here first. Tommy's anti-horse girl.
Well, I mean, you don't need to know that.
We're getting off to such a strong start. All right. All right. So the first take that I'm pulling from Twitter, and I'm just gonna take this as my own for a bit, and we'll see how it goes. But in the game Flesh and Blood, there is not. I've been playing recently in my free time. I've been playing Pokemon, and other than that, I've also played in a commander group pretty regularly. Make a lot of different decks for the commander group, and for the Pokemon game, there's such a big variety in all the sorts of stuff, even within little decks, and that's where the take comes from. Is I wish we had more creative freedom in Fab. I'm stealing this take straight off Twitter. There's not much variation in individual decks. So, like, the example they give is if I were to give 5 kids at an LGS a hero and tell them to build a deck using any card on Fabrary, they'd all look pretty similar.
I think you're looking at it wrong.
Fair enough. Yeah. Here, actually, before that, Tommy, what do you think about that?
No. Don't skip over.
No. I know. So Kevin and I talked about this just enough to where we know each other's opinions, and so before we poison the water,
sure,
I wanted to hear your opinion on the diversity of decks in Flesh and Blood, not specifically like Ninja versus Guardian, but like within Ninja, within Guardian,
within deck thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I disagree. I actually know I disagree.
Yeah.
This is a pretty cool thing to know. That I think it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking this way because Flesh and Blood is such a competitive focus, which is awesome. It's given the game a lot of legs, and it's really brought the game to where it needs to be currently. Now, I think if you were to take out the internet, right, and you say, here is to two people that want to play, they want to build a deck, they know how the game works. Here's a pool of cards. Here's a pool of Rhinar cards, right?
Okay.
All the Rhinar cards that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those 2 Rhinar decks are going to look completely different because there's going to be a lot of considerations for generic cards that perhaps aren't being considered, because this is more like, hey, build a fun deck that works. I think fun decks that work do exist in this game. It's an unfortunate thing that we like a world that we live in, that, you know, net decking is just a thing. It has been for 15 years, and if not longer, in card games, right? But I used to play Magic. I remember showing up to F&M when I first started, 2008, 2009, and I would show up with a deck that I looked at my pool of cards, and I was like, I can try to make something out of this, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I could have success. So I'll go like 3-1, 2-2. You know, one time went 4-0, whatever. And then the shift started where people were just bringing whatever the best deck was at the last GP or the last Pro Tour. And Flesh and Blood's a little bit in that world right now, unfortunately, but it's kind of a reality of card games. Because if you were to look at Pokemon and Magic in a competitive setting, the Dimir deck is going to look pretty similar across the board.
Mm-hmm.
The whatever the Psychic deck in Pokemon's going to look pretty similar across the board, of like whatever the the hot mind of like competitive players think is the best version of that deck, right?
Yeah.
And another thing, and I understand that there's probably a wish for more explorative deck building in Flesh and Blood. We still don't have a huge amount of card pool. Now, it's getting bigger, obviously, with every set release. It's also worth noting, we have sets of 3 cards, right? We have cycles, blue, yellow, red in most rarities. So we're actually not seeing that many more cards at a high rate of these sets coming out. So
that's actually a really good point.
It's just going to take us a little bit longer. We're in a pretty good spot right now, I think. Was this set
13 is Rosetta?
12, 13? 13 is Rosetta? That's That's a great question.
It might be 14.
They were. I feel like it was 15 because they made a big deal of it.
10 was
Dusk Till Dawn.
10 was Dusk Till Dawn because that was the big 1-0.
So 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is 14.
This is 14.
So we're gonna get there, and I think as the game grows, that kind of want for more like creative building is going to be fulfilled. And also we get different kinds of formats and stuff like that as well. I think you see really cool stuff, and you just gotta pay attention to it, right?
Yeah.
Pablo took Riptide to top 32 with the coolest Riptide I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Where
do that.
There are Riptides top 8ing Battle Hardens that are running Final Spring Tunic instead of Trench, which makes me want to jump off a bridge. I want in the trench. I like it. No. So I think like there is a lot of it. You just got to pay closer attention to it because usually at the top of the meta, right? Like then, etc. There's going to be these decks that look pretty like uniform. This is like small changes here and there, but once you get out of that the layer, that top layer, and you get deeper below the surface, I think you see a lot of cool stuff happening. You just got to pay attention to it. That's my opinion.
All right, go ahead, Kevin. After I interrupted you by throwing Tommy at the viewers, your opinion?
Yeah, I think this is the idea that there isn't diversity in deck building. Like, it is an artifact of like the way Flesh and Blood kind of works, where it is baseline a numbers game, and the deck's job is to do the best numbers possible. That's basically all of your aggro decks are best numbers possible, is like the way it works. But all the decks that try and deal with that, you're gonna have a million different decks that all look different trying to deal with it. The Icelander decks never looked like exactly the same. They had some kind of through lines that went that all showed up after US Nats in that year. But like if you look at all the assassin decks from Amsterdam, they all look kind of different. Even in top 8, the new decks all look different. The other side of this though is if you take a step back and you don't look at it as there's no diversity within Zen decks, if you look at it as there's diversity within the aggro decks, diversity within the ninja decks, diversity within whatever archetype you want to look at, the way we traditionally look at these things, we look at like what are the differences in like any aggro deck or combo deck or control deck in Magic. Like we don't think of it as like, you don't really look at like diversity in like Phoenix decks. They're all going to look pretty much the same.
Yeah,
but you're not worried about like nobody cares about that.
Like the premier Azorius control deck would just be the one deck. Yeah, like mostly.
But there could also be a Dimir control deck. There could also be a 3-color or 4-color control deck, and then you're going to talk about diversity in control decks, and you're not worried about the specifics of that. It's like is plenty of room for deck building creativity. And I think like one of the best examples of this was all the differences we saw in every single Dromai deck throughout her entire time in the game, because there was a massive spectrum between hyper aggro, hyper redline, Mara Ferris style, and then super control, like big dragon value engine that like
I wish I had
Jody
Prism.
Burney would play and Aaron Chance. Yeah, I just want to play Prism
Yeah.
lists. Like, and you had decks that landed everywhere in between those two. And then you look at Enigma. Nobody knows how to build Enigma right now. All of the decks look wildly different. You have some decks running Spectrum Aura, you have some decks that aren't. You have some decks running Phantasmify, so they can CNC for 11.
Yes.
So you have some decks running Pummel because they're just Guardian mains and they've coped their way into playing an Illusionist. Like,
Yes.
if you're, I really don't understand where that whole idea came from. And also later in the tweet, he talked about how he's building Turtle Den and it was doing well, which was hilarious. It's like
My
proved his own point.
my take on this,
Yeah.
to step back from being the person delivering the take, I don't have great defense for it. Is
Come here.
Rhinar specifically. When I build Rhinar, I take the pummels out and I scoot the defense reactions in, because I play that slow grindy value as Hayden Dale wished Rhinar plan and Clubnar. and it's funny because like a lot of the differences you see in decks are in how they're played, because you have so many variety and option on what you can do with each individual card. In Magic, sometimes you look at a hand and you're just like, oh, it plays out like this.
This is my 1-drop, this is my 2-drop, this is my 3-drop. That's it.
Whereas in Flesh and Blood, there's a lot of different ways. You could go for the maximum value on numbers. You could set up for a bigger turn on the next turn. You could do like me and just block with your whole hand. And, it's just there's so much variety in what an individual brings to the deck that I don't think deck building needs to do a whole lot. Casino Rhinar. Yes, Kenny and his Casino Rhinar, which is only put cards in that say roll. Exactly. I think it's an interesting thing to look at, and there is maybe I could see how somebody taking a brief glance at the subject could see that, because they'd just be like, everyone's just playing the same Zen list. It's like, they're all gonna
top 8 of the PT.
Yeah, it's one of many aggro decks, even if it is the best one right now, and it's going to be played differently by a lot of people. Sometimes the hands just play themselves, but oftentimes you're like stressing on whether or not you were supposed to block with your equipment this turn or next turn. So,
well, I mean, it's like you can also see that in like Fino did a stream where he went back and watched all of the coverage from Amsterdam, and Cody Williams and Dan Rukowski were in his chat talking a lot, especially during the Zen games, because that was the deck they took.
Yeah.
And they had a lot to say about how their deck was different, how they would play turns differently, how the lines that they think they take actually end up winning games, or instead of like people losing games. And like, I mean, it's stuff like they just like pitch, they do something where they don't make a Zen State token, and the Zen State would have been worth like 12.
God dang. What, like, is it a mirror, I assume, right?
Yeah, a
That's
Zen mirror.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's like these are not like we haven't solved this game.
No,
like
I don't know.
It's not even close. So like to say that there's no room for creativity in deck building you're the if you think that, you're the one putting the limits on yourself.
You gotta look closer. You just gotta look closer. I think it's
Yellow
a
Yinty
macro
Yinty.
issue.
I actually don't think you need to look closer. I think you need to take a step back.
Oh,
Ooh.
you gotta look from farther away.
You got to do
Because you're-
both.
If
Take a step
you
back
have
and put
that
on
opinion where
binoculars.
You think something is like solved, you're probably wrong, and you're too close to whatever you're doing, and you need to step back and look outside whatever box you've put yourself in.
Which is also funny because they got this take after stepping back and looking at other games.
Yeah.
Well, here's
I
the
don't
thing,
know.
like with Magic, right?
Yeah.
You look at like blue black control, and then there's blue black mill, and then there's blue black ninjutsu, yada yada yada. That could be just Arachne, Azuri, new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy
Yes.
to be like
Different
whatever, you know,
archetypes, but the same class.
it really boils down to that, right? Like this game has so many different heroes from the same class. These are
Yes.
different versions of that archetype, and
Every single Runeblade deck looks completely different, and the two we're about to get are going to look nothing like any that we've had before, even though one is a Lightning Runeblade like Briar and one is an Earth Runeblade like Briar. And the Earth Runeblade might look a lot like Charles Dunn's, or might feel similar to Charles Dunn's Briar list from US Nats.
We can
Without
only
Crown of
pray.
Seeds.
We can only
Thank
pray.
goodness. But like,
and Aurora is going to look like Matt
An
Folks'
emergency
spinning this,
unbanning
right?
of Crown of Seeds.
if Belittle was in the game, Aurora would probably run it,
Yeah.
and it'd be terrifying. It'd be so terrifying.
Okay.
But like,
Yeah.
when you narrow yourself down to this is what a Zen deck is, and there's no diversity in a Zen deck, one, you're wrong. Two, I think you've just lost perspective. Because like we have three assassins that all play wildly differently, and then we have
And if you need
Runeblades
to,
that have all played
yeah.
wildly differently. All the wizards are completely different heroes. The illusionists are actually completely different heroes.
If you do feel this way and you feel the need to take a step back, go ahead. A lot of people have taken a step back from Flesh and Blood and come back just the same. And sometimes a break from a game is what you need, right?
That was the step that I meant.
Well, I'm telling them, take their little
You're telling
piss
them
baby
to break
takes.
from the game. Okay.
I can't co-sign on that one, William.
I can't either.
No, I'm kidding. Show up to your LGS. Anyways, let's go on to another topic that was brought up in chat. I think I liked that one. Tommy liked that one. Did Kevin read it?
I like it all.
Yeah.
Immortal says that they can't make it on tonight, which is terribly sad. So I'll do my best impression of them. Tell me how it sounds. Fab is a very complicated game. Often a losing decision can have been made turns ago without you even realizing it. How do you get the face rollers that are in Yu-Gi-Oh, the face rollers that play Yu-Gi-Oh into the game? It's a really complex game. How do you get not just casual players, but like turn 1, turn 2 combo aggro players into the game?
Well,
You know?
Show
I was
them
going to
Kano.
give him Blitz for the ride back, and here you go. Fun.
LL Blitz.
That'll do it. Yeah. I mean, that's Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
But a more in-depth answer to this, I think that you have to show them that you can do the really cool high roll stuff, like, but also explain it to them. It's like, listen, you're also going to have to make some decisions here. Like, you don't want to give them the wrong impression of the game.
Yeah.
Right. It's not all Zen mirrors. It's not all Blitz Viscerai mirrors. It's not that all the time.
Fortunately.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, gotta get them to fall in love with the decision making. right?
Yeah.
And like, I think the best way you do that, and listen, I haven't played a drop of Yu-Gi-Oh since like before the Iraq War, I think. And like,
An interesting parallel there that I haven't like. Interesting. Okay.
Well, I stopped when we went over there. I couldn't do it anymore. But no, so I would have to say you would have to find something about Yu-Gi-Oh that people commonly dislike, right? Within that world. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's this this trap card is busted and you can't do anything about it and you couldn't plan for it, yada yada yada. And you say, listen, that thing that exists in your game doesn't exist in this game, right? So you have more agency in this game. You could still do the crazy thing, but there's going to be interaction happening when you try to do the crazy thing. So that is a whole new challenge for you. Like, you're just like, come on, I know you're bored of just, trolling people in Yu-Gi-Oh. What if you had to do it with more finesse? And they're like, oh, maybe
Yu-Gi-Oh meta is pretty shit right now.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't even know, but I would assume yes, I agree. That's terrible, and I hate what's happening to that meta. But is it worse? It's got to be worse than our CC meta.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is worse and going to get worse, apparently. They're printing more cards for like... It's like if Zen had like counter spells. Like Descendant Bonds, except it is 2 cards instead of 1.
Oh.
Like type stuff. And they're making it even stronger. So
the way I think I would get specifically Yu-Gi-Oh players into the game is actually probably just the same way I'd get anyone into the game. But I would wait like literally a month. Those first strike decks, I don't know if you've seen them like play out or played with them any. They're actually just really good. Like if you think about them as like specifically for new players, this will get you hyped for the game. They're actually great.
Yeah, it's like next week that I think the first strike decks come out.
Just if you want to get your friends who play Yu-Gi-Oh into Flesh and Blood, just learn to love Terra, and because you're gonna be playing it while they play Aurora, and it'll take them a minute for them to realize how to do like specific combo lines with certain hands, and some of them might even find it interesting when you like double up your might power. Did you see that? Where it's like you play the card that gives you 3 might tokens, and then you play the card that every time he gets +1, he gets +1 again, so you get +6 out of 3 mites. Yeah, that's pretty dope. That's a cool combo that gets people hyped for the game. I don't know. I would just say very specifically, if they got like a bit of Zoomer brain, then put them on an aggro deck to start with.
Yep.
And speak their language. Be like, this is like Blue Eyes White Dragon, but like that one's like Dark Magician. I don't
have
Terra's bussin'.
Have it be Runeblade, so that there's sequencing things for them to do and like pseudo combo stuff for them to do. But like,
and then just like everyone in Fab, slowly funnel them into Kano. It's you know the theory about how everything evolves into crabs. Everyone eventually becomes a Kano player. They just all eventually funnel into Kano.
Is that a theory? The crab thing?
No, it's almost a fact.
We're gonna evolve into. This is the first I'm hearing it.
Are you serious?
We're evolving into crabs?
Yeah, we're evolving into crabs. Crab evolution theory thing. Let me see if I can find something on it.
What's your source?
This is important.
I mean,
crab evolution theory, or
oh boy, please DM that.
Carcinization.
That sounds right.
It is a form of convergent evolution in which non-crab crustaceans evolve into crab-like body plan.
But
because
we're not.
it's the perfect body.
Are we crustaceans?
No, but we will be
yet.
crustacean-like.
Non-crab crustaceans.
Non-crab
Together
crustaceans evolve a crab-like body plan.
Oh, so this isn't us. It's only crustaceans.
No, but it's going to be us too. It's just crab is the ultimate end goal. This. If you're ascribing to be something in life, be a crab.
This is some Brian
It
Sanders
would be kind
shit.
of cool, I think, of all the types of things
You can like
do.
run sideways. I can't run sideways.
You can't do a grapevine,
Yeah.
man. Come on.
Not like in a sprint.
Oh, that's true.
Like
Listen, I'm more excited about the claws.
the claws. I think Riptide is the link between humans and crabs, but that's a different take. The next one, we're gonna pull up a take from. I guess we'll pull up a Sigma take.
Yeah. For those who are wondering, this is going to be a take that was meant for Brian Gottlieb, but got cut.
Got the next best thing. Yeah.
Best thing. Us.
All right. Do you want me to read them? I can read it.
You want? I'm
Okay.
a big fan of Taylor.
You're a big fan of Taylor? Well, Taylor thinks highly of you, I've heard. Okay, I'm trying to think which one is better. Do you have a preference on which one you want to start with?
Oh, I don't even remember what I sent. No, it's just listen. I have a jazz background. I like improv.
All right, well, I'll just start reading the first one and we'll see where it goes. All right. Power creep. Is it going from 8 heavy to 80 MST meta-wise a good thing for the game? Axing off a lot of viable decks from last meta for higher variants with just a handful of good decks challenging the top one, Zen. Isn't the armory level experience dropping with these fast changes? Metago Burr?
The Sigma is from Europe because 8 to 80 rather than 0 to 60. Meta-wise, a good thing for the game.
Is that actually a thing?
I think that probably makes more sense with kilometers. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I also know for a fact that Sigma's from Europe.
Okay. I don't know. This might be a Sigma thing. But
going from 8 to 80, it was good for the game. Acting a lot of
I think his question is, about there. I don't want to call it power creep necessarily, but like we are in an Flesh and Blood ebbs and flows, and we are currently in a flow. The game's strong right now.
Yeah.
Some people have described it as strong as Monarch and Tails. Those people need to go back 3 more years and relive that. But it is fast right now. It has shot up. It is a quicker game than it was.
Yes.
Yes. Oh.
So
Tommy, you can't surprise me like that. Anyways, frick. Yeah, so the meta's getting faster, and he's asking if the armory level experience is dropping with these fast changes as well.
I would say I would be concerned about the armory experience if I were in LSS's shoes, and that's where I'm going to kind of try to put my mindset, right? And
Yeah.
I think the CC thing is not as bad with this meta. Blitz situation, as someone who went and played Blitz Armory, was disheartening. I will say that. I mean, I am not a Blitz player at all. Because I think we talked about it before. I don't know where, but like in my head, I was like, oh yeah, Zen's busted, but who would want to bring it to Armory and not have and be the ruiner of fun? And then you realize, oh no, they're having fun. doing the Zen thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so that's
yeah.
unavoidable. But everybody else isn't having fun. Yeah, but everybody else not having fun.
Yeah.
So that is a difficult thing, and it's tough because it's hard to see them putting the focus in Blitz. And I think they want Blitz to be kind of like this anything goes format, right? Because I mean that was pretty clear when not anything goes. They're not putting a lot of energy into it, and then pretty clear that they kind of recognize that when they removed it from the world's experience, right? And obviously Brian has said multiple times Living Legends is probably going to be the format of the alternate format of the future, right? And by all intents and purposes, it seems like it is. It seems like one of the healthiest formats. So kind of
how's Riptide in LL?
Gets to play Plunder Run, which is pretty cool, to be honest.
Well, actually, that's a pretty good glow up, actually.
So, like, he gets to play Plunder Run, and all of his traps trigger against Starvo.
True.
And then
I don't know.
So that all sounds...
trap is a hell of a drug against Starvo.
Okay.
And that all sounds cool. That all sounds cool and great. And then somebody reminds you that Icelander and Oldhim are legal.
That's also true. I played Oldhim versus New earlier. That wasn't very good. It wasn't good.
They don't like frostbaits.
No.
Device just existing.
So
it's so good. But anyway, yeah. So I would be worried about the armory experience in Blitz specifically, because Blitz is a very convenient format for armory because, well, it happens on a weeknight oftentimes. Not a lot of time to play a lot of rounds of like CC. So that needs to be considered. I do think so. So, but thank you for the question, Sigma. I
think it's a good question.
Relay it over to Brian. No.
So my opinion on this is like, so I think obviously in the fact that there wasn't any bannings in Blitz, they were just like, we're sending Zen, we're kicking them out. We're giving them the proper treatment of just letting them go. Right? Like they're just sending it. They're just like, we'll just have Zen circle out.
I really think Zen is going to LL in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to just skirmish. He's going to be here and he's going to be gone. And then the next week they'll have something new to talk about.
And the skirmish meta will be fine.
And the skirmish meta will be fine.
Well, it'll be Victor dominant, but
so we did have a Blitz Armory recently locally, and at the end of it we all agreed that we should do a LL Armory the next week because we have an LL and a Blitz skirmish coming up locally. We have both, which is we're very fortunate to have, but we are going to be practicing the LL one more, not necessarily for any practice reasons, but because it's just more fun to play. And I don't know. I think Brian is now. I think Brian's talked about how that, you know, he's given little bits about how much they spend on time on things, right? So like draft takes up a large part of their testing that they have to do. The remaining testing is mostly put into CC, and if they have time, they'll do Blitz and they'll do LL.
Sealed.
Yeah, I'll wrap up Sealed with draft, but yeah, I guess it probably is. Sealed is probably tested less than traditional draft.
Yeah.
But I think that's also him saying that in shows. I don't remember. Did he say that one in yours specifically? I think he was talking about that in yours. So him saying that specifically, and the fact that, you know, Blitz obviously is in a world, just like you said, they have less emphasis on the format, as a whole, and it's more of just you just got into the game, you want to play a quick game, you've built a new deck, it's not a pre-con anymore, you've put some cards into it, try it out in Blitz. Not everyone's playing Zen at Armories. We had our local armory and one person was playing Zen. They won, but there was one person playing Zen, right? So that's just how it goes. And if you ignore his games, the other games were all actually very interesting. And even some of his were interesting, where there was some like points where you have to consider certain things. And I think he had a hand that bricked at one point. It still won that game, but still, I don't know. Blitz is in a spot. I don't think it's going to ruin the armory experience by any means.
I think you have to keep it in mind, but also Blitz is not the most interactive format anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they took CC cards, CC balance cards, and they put them in a half health format like that, and they decided to leave Rainbow Bonds in. Like,
true. They just want him to. They just want him to LL. Like,
he's gonna go so fast
now.
But
can he do it this season?
He can do it in week 1.
He can do it technically in week 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, even with the split formats,
skirmishes are 5 points per, and there's 115 Blitz skirmishes week 1.
And he already has how many points?
Oh, and also won a battle hardened, right?
Or sorry, he needs 460. He's at 35. So he needs 465. He needs something. If he wins something like 60% of Blitz skirmishes, he LLs the first week.
Okay, so
do you think he could win 60% of skirmishes?
It's pretty possible.
It's pretty possible.
I wouldn't be surprised.
All right.
LL week 1. Because Blitz heroes only need 500 points.
True. They don't need the full 1,000. And
skirmishes are also a much lower threshold, I think, for stores to get over PQs and RTNs because they're not like barred by invite counts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not worried about too many PQs being out there, too many RTNs being out there. So more stores get skirmishes. So there's more skirmishes. So there's more points in a half point total threshold for LL. So
heroes just LL faster.
If I did my math right, he will have.
I think we said 61%. If he went 61%,
yeah, it was between 60 and 61%.
Real quick before we get into our next topic, Fab's been pushing Lightning versus Earth. The full quote from Immortal is, "Who do you think will win? What'll be the consequences?" But my question was mostly Lightning or Earth, Tommy?
Earth. I gotta go with the defensive. Dice Commando said it's not happening, but he's underestimated Zen before, said the armpit. I gotta go Earth because I gotta go the defensive player or side of things.
Yeah.
I think, having control over blocking. So I will say, I hope that because they're pushing Lightning versus Earth, that we're going to have another Deathmatch Arena kind of competition where, maybe whoever wins the most, we get like a Command and Conquer.
Which for the winners. That's a thing I wanted to hype up. You know what? So I think
it's cool.
2 weeks ago, I started playing Pokemon, but only the first 4 sets.
Mm-hmm.
So only the first printing of the 151 Pokemon. And I was playing that with a buddy of mine, and it was very fun. And then Kevin showed me that they updated their actual app, and so I've been playing Pokemon again. And I when I pulled it up, I had my old account, and I had a couple of like the full art cards, like just full art Pokemon cards, and it's just an entire like a whole like there's just whole like elaborate scenes, and it just looks actually awesome. And this isn't a take, this is a complaint. I want more Marvels. I want like 40 a set. And I want them to be like crazy. I want them to be reprints and I want them to be awesome. So specifically the Kasai one showed up and it is Kasai and it looks awesome. And it's like one thing that Pokemon does really well is they have really good character creation in the sense of they make very memorable looking and personality wise characters, not in the games and everything else. And you look at the full art card and you're like, I want that because I know that character and I like that character because of how memorable they are. And in Flesh and Blood we have characters and some of them have lore and that's kind of nice, but I think more art pieces in Flesh and Blood, like more Marvels, that's what I want to see.
More alt arts.
More alt art, more lore, more reason for somebody who likes the game aesthetically or knows somebody who plays it and has a precon or two is just like, oh frick, the shuffle chi card has a giant cat on it. I love that. And then they just get the full art version of that, right? I want like 70 Marvels in every set. LSS, I'm looking at you. 150 Marvels in the next set.
At what point is this just Magic with all of their alt art versions of everything?
That's the genius of it. It's just Marvel. There's one. You just have the Marvel. You just have the regular version. You got the Marvel, right?
So, but like every card that matters has an alt art or full art version.
Sure.
So,
no,
like Magic.
No, Magic has like six different kinds of
and
arts.
You're gonna start like doing reprints of old ones with new art.
Yes.
Like textless versions, maybe.
I'm gonna just say, I don't care about Marvels. You know, I get them and then I tend to trade them away or whatever. Right. I have a couple that I really like that I keep. Obviously, I have the codexes up there. I'm collecting those.
Oh, that's sick, actually.
So, like, they're very cool. And to keep them cool, we got to keep them limited. I think, right? If like it'd be cool to like have like a whole bunch, but think about like I don't know. I hate opening a cold foil of common equipment that sucks. I hate it. Like I'm like, oh, could have been something cooler. And like that should be the limit of disappointment in Flesh and Blood when you're open something cool.
Fair enough.
Like, because a cold foil's cool regardless, but like
I think my take ends up actually boiling down into Flesh and Blood. I know you have a lot of lore for how long you've been out, but more, please.
Okay. That's fair.
That's fine. It doesn't need to be expressed through the cardboard, though.
It should.
Okay.
You know, what I want.
If you want to.
Go ahead.
If it's done with like some alt art versions somewhere, like in the set, maybe, or the Armory promos that are all extended art, anyways, that's fine. But we don't need more of those in the set. It's special that like Aether Wildfire is the extended art for that CLF has an alt art version in Tails. The 3 pulses being foils made sense. The Transcends all being Marvels makes sense. It's just those because those are special. They're shared between all the heroes. Everyone playing that set gets to use them. Like,
no, that's fair. That's cool. Fair. I also want to see more heroes in the art. More Flesh and Blood, memorable. You know who this person is. Heroes in cards. I want to see more art of like Reinhardt hitting Dorinthian in the head with a hammer.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Club.
Not a club. Yeah. Try again, buddy.
Come on. You call yourself
All right.
a brute player.
Do we want to go over one more take?
Sure.
We got one more Sigma take.
I do want to
Okay.
amend something. I think I messed up the event search when I did it last time for Blitz skirmishes. There's only 84. So there's 420 Blitz LL points up this weekend, which is not enough to LL Zen.
But week
I
two,
guess
though.
we'll have to do it in 2 weeks.
But week two, though.
So he will survive this week.
That means I have to see him at mine. Dang it.
Yeah.
He's gone this season, though. Unless he hits like 499, 498.
I would take ludicrous odds for betting that he will LL this season. Like, if I were to bet $1,000 and I get 1,001 back for him LLing the season, I would still bet that money. Like,
all right,
so
Sigma take number
ridiculous.
2. Efficient aggro decks that hardly punish you for blind drawing into 0-cost attacks seem harder to tame than a deck needing resources to keep going. The examples were Zen versus KO. What's the process to balance one versus the other? Why would one aggro deck need a big fridge and card tutoring already? Why would one of those aggro decks need a big fridge and card tutoring, being already a strong class? This is definitely a question for Brian Gottlieb.
For Brian Gottlieb.
And to be fair, Brian did answer this during the regular interview, kind of like talking about, well, that was they wish that they tuned the equipment a little bit differently. Yeah. And that's just the reality of that thing. But I don't really have much to add to it because, like, I think when it shouldn't be happening.
I think my thing about it is when we were in Roomblade Heck a couple of years ago, and it was people are complaining about Roomblades because they're aggro decks with a fridge. Well, that's why they're good. They just have a fridge, and it definitely helps make them good. That doesn't necessarily mean is the only reason they're good. However, I said at the time, give it 5 years. Everyone will have a fridge. I still kind of think that.
Almost everyone, yeah.
Almost everyone. But if you don't have a fridge, odds are you're a young class or you have better options. Like, you might actually be picking
You have to do
else.
something insanely powerful.
Yeah. Yeah,
like insanely powerful. Like, you have to be Kano. Or you have to be New, who says, I don't need the armor, you're not hitting me anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think anyone... It's not quite anyone who wants a fridge can just have it, but most of the people who do want one do have one, right? It also reminds me of Welcome to Wraith in the early metas. It was the only set out, right? And so, like, Reinar's headpiece was Iron Rod Helm. But that was the standard because it's all you had. It was that, or like, what, you're gonna run Hope Merchant's Hood?
Yeah, now he has Scowling Fleshbag.
Yeah, now he has Scowling Fleshbag.
Am I bad at math? I'm bad at math.
Are you bad at math again?
Yeah. Okay,
Wait.
there is 157 Blitz skirmishes Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, let's go.
So 735 points. Yeah, what I said last time was 60% win rate on the weekend.
Wow.
We can do it.
Okay. We can do it. Tommy, one of the things I've been quoting is I had a coworker say, he's a Magic player. He's like, the thing I actually really like about Flesh and Blood from the outside looking in is that if you don't like a deck, you can just play it until it gets banned. And in that sense, I'm not playing Zen this weekend. So
I do want to say,
go ahead.
Of the kind of situation that was presented by that last take question about Zen's armor, sweet, the fridge thing, and this is something I brought up before we started recording. I don't know. Maybe you're behind the controls, not me. I don't think and could have been the Crouching Tiger Ninja.
Oh my gosh.
This is my hot take.
I forgot that one. Yes, we need to talk about this.
Here's my reasoning.
Okay.
And it really comes down to the flavor of Zen state, right? I feel like there is a cognitive dissonance between what's happening in Crouching Tiger creation stuff and what Zen's doing, right? Zen seemed to be zenning out, like chilling out, right? And I thought when I saw Zen's art, I was like, sweet, we're getting the Guardian Ninja,
the defensive turtle
ninja.
Yeah, like that is going to do like weird things, like territorial domain. Like obviously, creates it benefits off creating a Crouching Tiger, but kind of hard to do consistently on defense. And like I just felt like that should have been the thing. Like the Zen state token being created is very cool. Like it should have played more into creating the Zen states, right? I just felt like, rather than these Crouching Tigers. And if you were to look through it, look at this through that lens, and obviously the hero text would have to have been different. You know, the armor suite makes a lot more sense. Traverse would have felt a lot more fair. You know, like it would have still been a defensive payoff rather than an offensive payoff. So I think there is some cognitive dissonance there. And I understand you want to give the Crouching Tigers a room to like actually flourish, because it is a really cool mechanic that we saw come out of Dynasty.
Yes.
And then, you know, further in around the table. So just feel like we got cheated out of what Zen truly could have been. And now we're all going to have a taste in our mouth with Zen if he ever returns.
So I think that there's so many angles you have to look at when you're designing a hero as someone who hasn't, that one of the things obviously is limited, right? So like if we had a defensive ninja, how would a limited feel?
Oh, limited set would be miserable.
It would,
it would have to look completely differently.
It would have to look completely differently if it wanted to be good.
It wouldn't be illusionist.
Yeah, you'd have to drop illusionist, because that's basically the role that illusionist is filling. Is like it's a triangle where it's like a setup deck, a like value deck, and then like an aggro deck, however you want to describe it. And
well, it's like an invasion deck, an aggro deck, and a control deck.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to put it, right? And so like if Zen becomes
a second control deck
and becomes the second control deck, it's gonna feel really weird, right? It's as if we had two Teklo Vossens in the bright lights. So
it would have had to change a lot of things.
It would have been a whole
completely differently.
That said,
everything has to change.
We've seen heroes come back for better and worse, and for better and better and worse.
Hopefully. I don't know.
Sure.
And so maybe we get a Zen come back and he says something stupid like, if you hit with a Kodachi, create a embodiment of Earth. I don't know, I'm making this up.
No, I think, if I were to redesign Zen, taking out limited, right? I would give Zen more agency of creating Crouching Tigers on their opponent's turn to benefit the cards within their deck to give defensive things. And then perhaps the hero text is like the first Crouching Tiger you attack with each turn attacks for one more or whatever. It gives +1. So the Crouching Tiger that you create while being defensive comes like a little poke.
Yeah, you get your Kodachi.
Yeah, still get Kodachi.
Whatever,
like has like some,
Yeah.
I think that would have been really cool. Obviously, we can't change.
And we could have gotten the red tiger eye reflex that we didn't get.
Yes, that would have been.
It would have been a 0 for 5.
It would have been good.
Like with Go Again, that'd be pretty good.
It would have been
And he
great.
never got that.
Yeah,
That's just. Oh.
We got
you could
red
end up with like
bittering thorns,
a
but
weird
not
like value
Tiger Eye.
deck, a weird mid-range value deck, which like would be interesting.
Yeah.
Like Flick Flack comes back in then with red Tiger Eye Reflex and like all that stuff, and you literally just can do like just 2-card block with Tiger Eye Reflex and then Tiger into Pouncing Key, and that's like a 2-card 9.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
that's
it's
what you
split.
did in Limited, like
Yeah.
oftentimes, right?
Like it's.
I don't know. I think that's kind of
I
neat,
think
right?
that
Like
would've-
if he did fit the role of the control deck in
Mid-range ninja.
the mid-range ninja in the draft, and then the I don't know what would
I think you take new out in that regard, and you create another aggro deck.
and then the aggro deck
More
is
fair.
a Mystic Brute.
I mean, you said it. No. I don't. I think you could do like a Mystic,
Runeblade.
like Runeblade for sure.
Oh, Runeblade. Yeah, that's good.
A Ranger would be kind of neat too. I don't know. I mean, it would probably tough into Illusionist, but
Yeah, especially
yeah.
It's neat. There's a lot of things to consider when making drafts.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
What?
In the Twitch chat,
Yeah.
have some function, maybe a new weapon with instant 0 discard the next one damage or something like that. Probably be an offhand.
Oh.
Anything.
Wait, I kind of love that.
Yeah, that would be an offhand.
Sweet. That'd be
That sounds really cool.
And then you get actually,
Or maybe it's like a piece
what
of
if,
equipment, like a legendary piece of equipment that says something like that.
now let's
I
take it a little
would-
bit further. You put your arsenal on the bottom of your deck, and then you draw a card as well. What if we did that? Crown of Tigers. We'll call it. No.
Crown of Tiger Hide.
Crown
There we
of
go, we
Sea
got
Tigers.
Crown of the Tigers. Never mind. All right, I think that's about it. So, is there anything else we wanted to talk about? Nope. Well, Tommy.
I guess actually.
Oh, yeah, go
one
ahead.
Quick thing, because there was like another half of that question where it's like, how do you balance like low cost decks like Zen compared to high cost aggro decks like KO?
Oh yeah, good point.
And it is much harder, especially as soon as you get into like draw card type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as all of your cards cost 0, they're all interchangeable.
True.
And things get much more it gets like it is harder to balance because the consistency goes up.
Yes.
'Cause,
Right.
like,
When every card is the same card, it's much different than when
doesn't
you have a bunch of
matter,
reds and you have a
like-
bunch of blues.
Yeah, like the difference between losing the 1 blue in your hand that you need by losing a random 0 for 3 head jab.
Yeah.
That's just a 0 for 3 head jab, your hand still functions and you lose 3 value versus losing like 6 or 8. So like KO feels much easier to like kind of mess with because you can disrupt his big turns because he needs very particular things for them. Zen is just kind of like, if he has the chi, like Zen halfway gets around it because he has to have chi for his big turns. But that's like disrupting like 5 you just kind of couldn't do unless you had literally 0 blues.
Yeah.
And all 1 costs, which was not often. He was very much on the 0 cost attack action lines. But like Cheerios Briar, every card is, it's either a non-attack or an attack, and that's the only thing that you're worried about. So like, the more interchangeable you make cards, the harder it is going to be to like, you have to be much more careful with balancing the deck and the ceiling,
which
on
is
deck.
why we've probably known those more Cheerio lists to have smaller fridges, because they are more consistent. And so the way you disrupt them is by sending them on hits they can't deal with, or getting them to a life total faster because they don't have the equipment to block with.
You just,
So Zen having the ability to block, frick, 7?
Yeah.
Just 7, just straight up, just flat 7.
It's why you saw Scale Peeler be so prominent in the Assassins.
That's
It's to just
crazy.
take the equipment and just say, "You sure?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?" Okay. Like, it's
tough. You got to create some kind of downside, right?
Yeah.
And I think, in theory, there's a downside with the no
cheer,
blocks.
trying to be no block, the trans,
Yeah,
all that
but
stuff.
it just doesn't pay off in the way that you'd hope. Once things all come together. So that is where I would look to like balance it, right? If Katsu, I think, is a very balanced deck. It goes wide. It's low to the ground.
But you also get a lot of interaction with Katsu, and like whether or not he can actually get his tutor. And he is also not, his cards are not interchangeable.
True.
They're very much interchangeable. Like, he has to have very specific starter card. And then, but like, you also, and he has way less armor than Zen does, and he doesn't want to block with Massive Pouncing Links or Massive Momentum until absolutely necessary with Pouncing Links and Momentum until the end of the game. And then he's on Tunic or Heart and Crossstrap, which is just worth less than Kasaya on both sides. And then, like, the other side of this is, like, you have, like, super high ceiling decks like Kano, who have at most 1 point of armor and 30 health. Like,
what does he run if
they balanced Kano, like, by giving him no armor and no health? Like,
what does he run if Shuko's banned? Just a hypothetical. Shuko?
What's the one that Katsu runs?
You can give a Tiger Breaking Scales.
Breaking Scales.
Breaking Scales isn't super important because Zen doesn't have on hits. It's just I'm going to send 1,000,000. There's the hands that gives your next Tiger +2 in Battle Worn 1.
Oh yeah,
all of these got Battle Worn 1. You're still having a fridge that blocks 6, which is typically the break point for CNC.
Yeah,
so, it's kind of rough. I don't know.
Like, that's still
if they want to nerf Zen again, I feel like they gotta be creative with it. I'm not sure if they are though.
He doesn't have like too many things.
Traverse is likely the biggest mistake, right?
It is.
I think it's such a feels bad to ban a legendary.
Oh yeah, I don't
in the set.
It's actually funny because if it didn't do the art of it, extended art, it would have been. I probably would have been easier to pull that trigger, but I feel like since there's a really beautiful, albeit beautiful, extended art, it's like
that's pretty true. That's very true.
Because in reality, you ban that, right?
Yeah,
it hurts Zen. It really does not hurt New, and it's really
not substantially.
And it's not the worst thing that could happen to Enigma. It sucks, but there's other options there.
I think we've talked about this, and I think where I land is it knocks Zen down a full tier because he still gets to run Pouncing Links, and that's still very good for him. Yeah. It is. It knocks Enigma down about half a tier because it matters. It definitely matters with Mirror Guy, and just some of your swing turns get kind of crazy, but you can still absolutely function that deck and run that deck without it. New doesn't move at all because it's like, okay, she has to be a little more particular in the matchups where she's doing her 3 blue attack turn to try and kill KO, but it's not really going to move the needle on what she's trying to target. So,
well, they just need to rescind the full art. If they just don't print that, if they take them all back, then
that's true.
They do a recall. They get a it's like a where they buy back your card. Yeah, they do a card buyback.
Now this one's gonna hurt because it also, I believe, has a nice extended art, but it doesn't hurt multiple heroes. It's Kasaya. It's actually an insane card as well.
It's so
right?
good.
It is.
It's so
That's
good.
and I just got done talking about how we should focus on the Zen state side of things.
Yeah. We're gonna take
Ban them.
We're gonna take it.
I changed my mind.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
it's a really tough puzzle. And
someone other than me's got to do it.
yeah, Florian is gonna change everything.
Sure, we hope.
That would be.
We need one more person
That'd
on
be
here to represent Aurora because each one of us are hyped about a different character in the upcoming set.
I'm hyped about Aurora too.
Oh, you
Based
are?
on
Oh, you can be hyped about both then.
Based on the first strike deck,
Yeah.
I think Aurora seems really cool, and like if that's how she's going to play, obviously at a much more powerful rate, that seems really cool to me, and like it makes way more sense. And here's like you guys want a nice little hot take before we go to bed and go
Sure.
sweepy sweeps?
Pour a nice glass of hot take right and drink that before going to bed.
It's a
Winds
common
me
thing
down.
right now. Rosetta's coming, right? It's a common tweet I see. Multiple people and whatever. I understand you want it. Unban ball lightning. No. Don't unban ball lightning.
No,
because
actually, no.
I will say
Go
this.
ahead.
And it's not even because ball lightning's too good.
It is.
It's very good. It is very good. I'm saying you don't unban it because it's too good. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm mixing up my words. But you can't unban it because the rules interaction on that card was a nightmare.
Terrible.
True.
Right?
That's why I think Exude should be banned.
Sure. No, I like that card. That one's cool. Don't say that. Only the cards that I hate. No, playing terrible rules interactions there. Awful. You shouldn't have to unban these cards, like these cards from the past. The easiest fix is to just print a fixed version of it. And guess
0 to
what?
50.
I'm sure, yeah, 0 to 50. 0 to ball lightning. And I'm sure we'll see some kind of fixed version of ball lightning.
Small lightning.
Small lightning, yeah.
The blue attacks.
we
The
already
blue
did.
attacks for 0.
So they printed Fry, which
Oh,
is a 0 for
frick.
3 lightning go again, 0 block.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my god.
It's just ball lightning with no effect.
With no upside. With no wildly stupid and gross upside. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Ball lightning didn't work with runaways in Tales of Aria, right? Like if you were letting one leak, from my memory, because I remember it was like if you let one leak and you popped your runaways, you would still get dealt the damage, right?
Yep.
I mean, I was like, oh, ban this card now.
Yep.
Like,
You have insulted me at my LGS. I want this banned.
why am I playing this leg piece? What does it do? You know, I was like, I couldn't believe it.
I think of the 10 times I've drafted that set, I've yet to draft runaways. I drafted runaways in the first draft, and then I didn't draft it again.
It did deal with Arcane, so kinda.
Just send it. Just let him have it.
Oh man.
All right.
But yeah, that was my last hot take. Sorry.
All right, no, I think that's good, and thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about whatever, blah blah blah. Where can people find you? Do you have any shout outs? Do you do things?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. Anytime you want to have me, please let me know. And I will, I'll talk to my people, and my people are me. So talk to myself. I have a podcast called Fresh Bloods. You can check it out on YouTube and Spotify and all the places. We have a lot of great guests all the time.
Brian Gottlieb. Literally just said Brian Gottlieb. Like, who else are you going to get?
Manstand today.
I've been on it.
Week? William's been on it. Who's next week? Who do you think?
Kevin.
Pablo Pinto.
Oh, frick.
Yeah, I think I have to double check to make sure our schedules line up. But he said all good on his side. So
Riptide.
Yeah,
Riptide
Rip.
talk.
So
Mono Riptide
yeah,
chat.
it's a good time over there. Please check it out. At 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be happy. I don't know. I do.
You're gonna cosplay Livia at 1,000. Yeah.
No, actually, Ethan made me commit to when I'm going to do the cosplay. It's going to be at the Realm event in December, the 50K.
Ooh.
It's
That's 50K,
not going to look good, but we're going to have
It's gonna
a
look
good time.
great. It's gonna floor everyone, and if it doesn't win, what are the judges doing?
There's going to be a competition.
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to show up.
I hope there better be a competition. All right, Kevin, you got any shout outs?
The Patreon.
We got a Patreon, patreon.com/thetablepit, where we have a Patreon. We didn't have a caller on. Normally we goad the caller into shouting out our Patreon. But other than that, we also have shirts and hats. We have hats now on our shirt and hats website, and other things. Merch. The link to that will be in the description. If you want to wear things like this,
like this.
I'm going to gesture.
That he's editing in.
I'm editing in
over top.
I thought you were pointing at
You're pointing at him.
Well, you're below me in the actual video, so okay.
Yeah, in the actual.
You can have me.
Put him on a shirt. Actually, we did. So I did a test stream yesterday to just make sure that YouTube is working for streaming, and I made a shirt design for the gun shooting one, which after some constructive feedback does not have an image of me with a gun pointed at my head on the shirt. But it looked awesome, and it still looks awesome, and it's going to be up on You Buy a Shirt with a picture of me, and you can imagine a gun's pointed at my head on the
I always do.
on the merch store. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for watching.
All right.
Bye.